Welcome to Sacred Strange Tarot. This is your typical pick a card reading. Today's topic is the road to hell. The concept is sometimes in our lives we choose to take a path and it ends up leading us to hell, metaphorically. If you believe in hell, cool. I don't, not in your typical sense, but it is a fascinating concept, and I have my opinions on it, which you'll probably hear during the video. You have the choice between pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, pile 1, Snape. I don't feel as if he really is a villain, but he was a villain for a little bit, so. Poison apple, probably representing Queen Grimhild from Snow White. The evil queen, obviously. And Light from Death Note. Definitely, perhaps the most evil villain. I know the evil queen was evil, right? But he really thought he was doing good, sort of. He wanted to be a god, and he killed a lot of people on purpose, including his father. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Light is the worst villain in here. I wanted other villains. I just don't have a lot of representation. I almost put the Dalek in Snape's place, but you know. He didn't really fit with the dark theme. Okay, so the timestamps will be below, and enjoy your reading. And for pile 1, we're going to get started. This is only a 3-card reading. It's a quick reading today. So if you chose Snape, and when you're picking a card, it doesn't have to be, if say, like, Snape's my favorite character, I would probably want to pick him because I like him, but it might not necessarily be something I'm called to do, so I feel like whatever is the first card you look at is the card you pick, or the card that pulls you the most. And if you can't feel pulled, sometimes you pick between numbers, and numbers can pull you. So the numbers of the timestamps often help me decide what I'm going to pick. So we have 9 of Swords. We have 3 of Wands reversed. And using the Demon Tarot, we have... Let me remove that so you can see it properly. The artwork's gorgeous. Eventually I'll take off my notes. Gamori. You can read about that. And we'll get to that. So, the first card of this reading is called The Way Down. So, the path you're on, that you're here about, what's your hell? What situation do you find hellish? What have you become? So your situation, what began it? Well, the 9 of Swords. Is that reversed? That is reversed. We're using the Krampus deck 2. Apparently all these children were very naughty. Maybe they weren't naughty, since it's reversed. Okay, you've been very emotional. Worrying. You were worrying. You might have been obsessively thinking. Depression, shame, or or you were keeping something to yourself like a secret, or your feelings, not expressing yourself. That can lead to a lot of shit, not expressing yourself. Maybe you jumped to conclusions and acted rashly. So, I don't view hell the way other people view hell. I think, well, I also don't view death the way other people view death. Death is good. Death is change. Death is a eradication of the old and paving way for the new, for rebirth. So hell is a representation of all the stuff that maybe you need to let go of, or all the stuff that's still a part of you, even if you pretend it's not there. Or hell is you holding yourself in bondage. Obviously, swords are a good indication of that. You holding yourself in bondage and tormenting yourself for what you did. So Krampus is all the punishment for the bad little girls and boys who didn't do anything good that year. Krampus comes on December 5th and beats with a birch whip, whatever, the little children who are bad, and sometimes if they were really, really bad, he takes them off and eats them. Good representation of our internal tormentor, our internal demon, devil, whichever. Sorry, I keep doing that. So people often go through a dark night of the soul. And I'm really feeling strongly from this card, Dark Night of the Soul. So you doing to yourself what you need to do. So maybe you're going into yourself to experience the suffering that you think you have coming to you. Because hell is a concept, oh my gosh, and it's often widely purported to be, oh, I believe I have done wrong, so I'm going to go to hell and I'm going to go suffer and for however long till I've fixed it. At least that's how I think the afterlife works. So this could be your a mini Dark Night of the Soul, like a miniature version of it. That's what started this thing. Or maybe you already went through your Dark Night of the Soul. This is sort of, I'm not really doing past, present, future, but if I were, this would be in the past position. So maybe you tried to do something. Maybe you thought you were making the right decision, but it didn't turn out well. And then you kind of stumbled really hard and fell. Or someone caught you, perhaps. Because, I mean, it is reversed. But doesn't that look like a pentagram? His head looks like a pentagram to me. So, I feel like you could be going in the right direction. potentially. Which is why I said the whole Dark Night of the Soul. Okay, so virtue. Oh. Did you lose your virtue? Looks like you're looking in the wrong direction. This dude also has horns. Do you see that? He's reversed. 2. Look at that. He's reversed. 2. They're looking at each other, almost. Because if he were to have that level, he's looking down at him, or he's looking at the children. Children could be yourself you're holding hostage, like good intentions, wishes and dreams. He's definitely a type of devil. Look at his little tail. More pentagrams. I see the sun. Do you see it? Right there? It looks like the sun to me. Water is in the sky. Ships are upside down. I highly doubt you're going anywhere. You could be trying. This is very, very common with depression and Dark Night of the Soul thing. You're trying to get somewhere, but you keep swimming in the same sea. Wallowing in your emotion. Not swords. 9 of Swords. Wallowing in your emotion, in your negativity, in your suffering and shame. The 2 in the second position. It's called the point of no return. What was the breaking point? Maybe you didn't get what you wanted. Maybe you tried something and it was just too hard and you couldn't get what you wanted. You had a really big obstacle, big setback, probably emotional and physical. I'm sensing emotion and sensing an emotional happening in the real world. So something happened to you. Threes can be kind of unlucky. I recently heard that. Usually 3s are considered very, very differently, but okay, so if you're in depression, sometimes you can't see correctly, or you're in the dark night of the soul. Maybe it's not time to make any decisions. Anything you do seems wrong, which is why you're keep finding more obstacles. Maybe you should just sit down and look at everything. Maybe you're supposed to wallow a little bit. I really feel like anyone who's going through the whole dark night of the soul or depression thing, who's in hell, just be there. Don't try to get away from it. Don't try to fix it. Maybe you've been trying to fix something so much that you're making it worse. Or it's not the right time for it to be fixed. Maybe it's supposed to fix itself in time, in the future, and what you're doing is not doing anything. So, you trying to do too much definitely pushed you over the edge. You were trying too hard to get to this goal, to get what you wanted, to get something. Your future might not be aligned with another person in the situation, or with the situation itself. You can see the situation as another person. Perhaps that this is not the right path for you, or they're not the right. Maybe it's the right path. I feel like it's the right path for you. You're on the right path, but it's not the right environment, world, situation. It's incompatible. Don't get into long distance relationships. Because maybe that's what happened. You tried to do something without being able to put your hands on it. Without it being real in the real world. You were trying to do everything on a mental plane. Look at this. Look at this advice for the overall. Embrace all aspects of yourself, the divine and the earthly. I'm going to take that, I'm going to jump and take it to mean, yes, be spiritual. Be in your head, be magical, be mystical, be divine, be a god, whatever. But also don't forget, you are flesh and blood. You are human. You live on the earth, you walk around. That earth energy means you are like a tree. You need to have roots. You can't always be up in the ether. Otherwise, you are missing half of the equation, of what would conclude the equation. So, you weren't grounded. That's what put you on this road to hell. Your road to hell is not that bad. I'm sensing your road to, because you chose Snape. He died, but I feel like he did get redeemed, which is why I didn't really want to include him in this reading, but maybe it was meant to be. And if you're reading too much into the whole, oh, he died and I chose his path and whatever, and this is his pile. Death is good. Death is change. You want to die to yourself. The day dies every day, and it doesn't worry about tomorrow not being here. It still dies. It's inevitable. You're going to die one day anyway. Why not practice it? We all change. We all grow. We all have dark nights of the soul and get over it. Or we don't. It's okay. Okay. Last position. The dark culmination. The last position is the dark culmination. Do you realize what you've become? Okay, yeah, this reading was sort of meant to be. I can understand why Snape's presiding. Gamori. I don't know if you read any of this. You can pause it and read it, or maybe you already did so. He manifests as a delicate and feminine being riding a camel, similar in appearance to Paimon. Oh, he's possibly a twin to Paimon. Paimon is really good at manifesting money. Paimon's pretty gentle. I've spoken to Paimon before. He's pretty cool. I spoke to him years ago, before I had this deck. Okay, so Gamori is soft-spoken. That's another feminine quality. Sorry. So, I feel like what you've become is not terrible. It's not terrible. Gamori is feminine, soft-spoken. This card is about finding new love, inspiration, beauty, treasure. So I feel as if your road to hell might not be like very hellish. If we want, are you pleased with who you've become? For what happened? Did you go through a dark night of the soul and come out better? Did you get to meet? Maybe you met the darkness in you. And darkness is yin energy. Darkness is feminine. So maybe you found your feminine side. If you understand Snape's story, he did what he did for years out of love of a woman who had already been dead for a while. So very apropos to this reading. I'm not pulling any more cards. This is a 3-card reading. Let's study this. Look, the horns have been pulled upright in the end. The horns are upright. That's fascinating. Sorry. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Kind of resplendent. All that beautiful clothing, decked out camel. And also, this whole reading seems to be presided by Gemini. I don't usually mention zodiac signs in relation to people. Like, I'm not gonna say, oh, this could be a blah 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 zodiac sign. I feel like that's silly. It could be any zodiac sign because this is general. But I feel like this is presiding over by Gemini. This one is, and then this one feels like, because of the twin aspect, potentially a twin to Paimon, I feel like Paimon could be the earthly twin because of his association with making money. But I mean, they both could be kind of earthly twins. I don't know. Maybe this is, I don't want to go that far, but I mean, if twin anything means anything to you, take it. See if it resonates. So, are you happy that you're like this? Maybe this is a bad thing. Maybe you were too soft-spoken, too passive. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it wasn't very good. Maybe what you did for love of something, love of someone, love of a job, position, or yourself, or greed, or something. Maybe it was bad. Maybe it turned out terrible. Maybe you were left alone. Or dead. It's possible you were left for dead. So, the whole question is, did this dark night of the soul kill you? Or make you stronger? And strength doesn't necessarily have to be physical strength. It can be internal strength, mental strength, emotional strength. Emotional strength is interesting. Sometimes we think emotional strength is controlling our emotions, but you feel like if you take feminine energy, which is, this card is very feminine energy, it's more about accepting, I feel this way, okay, I feel this way. That's alright. I'm not going to try to change it. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to embrace it. If I feel like shit, I'm going to embrace it. If I feel like killing someone, I'm going to embrace it. It's okay to feel however you feel. Feelings are not actions. Feelings aren't necessarily true either, and feelings aren't necessarily the only thing you feel. You could feel one way and also feel another way, like the opposite. So you can love someone and hate them at the same time. So embracing your emotions is not terrible. Feminine energy is receptive. Feminine energy is strong, mercurial. It can be destructive, but I feel like in this card, it's very, very geared towards satisfaction. Yeah, I feel like this card is satisfaction. I feel like you're very pleased with the outcome. You know, some of you might not be so pleased. Some of you might not, but I feel like the majority of you came to a conclusion that bettered you in a way you weren't expecting. So instead of trying so hard to be something you weren't, you became something that you are, that's way much more different than you were thinking. It says delicate. Are you delicate? Did you find love? Or will you find love? Did you find beauty in yourself? I feel like this is a very positive reading. Considering the whole hell aspect, I expected it to be a little bit heavier. Hell's not bad. Hell is not bad at all. Alright. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this reading, feel free to comment. I would love to hear what you have to say. Do with this information what you will, and I hope to see you again. Alright, pile 2. If you chose pile 2, this is your reading. This is a 3-card reading. Only 3 cards today. If you chose the Evil Queen's Poison Apple, her name is Grimhild. I always loved her name. Nobody ever remembers her name. Although, once upon a time they changed it to Regina. But that's Disney for you. I specifically chose the apple. I do have a pendant that would have represented Regina specifically, but I chose the apple. So this is Grimhild. This is the Evil Queen. Or this is a poisonous offer. This could be you got taken over and when you got duped. Maybe that's your situation. Did you get duped? Are you taken in? Overall advice, triple moon, embrace all aspects of yourself, the divine and the earthly. We have the King of Cups. We have the Six of Cups. This is probably regarding emotion. We have Azazel. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the topic is the road to hell. Is your situation hellish? Do you feel like you're in hell? Did you descend to hell in the course of this circumstance, this travesty? Did a travesty happen? It could potentially not be a travesty. It could be something good. The last reading was kind of positive. So the first card's position is the way down. What pulled you down? King of Cups reversed. I can see why he pulled you down. He can be kind of tricky. Even upright, he can be tricky. Maybe you were really emotional. People triggered you. You were depressed or anxious or moody or unpredictable. Were you unpredictable? The King of Cups could be very unpredictable. Maybe you needed to find some emotional balance. You weren't in control of yourself. Were you overprotective of something? Of yourself? Oh, maybe you were taken in by someone or something because you were too passive. Have you ever? I'm not trying to disparage men. Be aware of that, okay? But if you kind of look in the mindset, it could be a woman too. But I'm kind of what's coming to mind is the image of a overly passive husband. The kind of just like has his shoulders kind of down and he's kind of pulled inward to himself and he just says, "Yes, dear," very, very quietly. Yes, whatever you want. Doesn't really speak up. And the woman's kind of brash and doing whatever she wants and maybe she makes, all the decisions in the house, wears the pants. And I'm just feeling like he just lets her walk all over him. So, this is an expression of love. To her, he's trying to express his love, earn her love, by doing this. If I'm going off on a tangent, just bear with me. It doesn't necessarily have to pertain to relationships. It could be an illustration of your situation. But I feel like it's not an expression of love. What it is you're trying to earn love because you don't feel like you deserve love, so you continue to put another person on a pedestal and do whatever they want in order to hopefully keep the peace, be passive. Maybe you're a Libra. Maybe this other person was kind of a swindler. Like I said, did you get duped? That came to mind. Did you get swindled in this situation? Maybe you were looking for love in the wrong place? Like, or too romantic. Were you too romantic? I'm hearing like too romantic, too sentimental or maudlin. Or what you did was not appreciated. This is the road to hell, so it's not going to be positive. This is what happened to lead you to where you are. You feared. Maybe you feared. This is definitely the King of Cups. Fearing losing emotional control. Maybe you were too uptight, or too. Maybe you avoided your anger. Did you avoid your anger? So you didn't rock the boat? So you didn't upset someone with the situation? I'm also seeing like passive person in the workplace. Was your heart not in something? Maybe you were faking. Also, you know how like some people act all macho? So instead of the passive version of the husband, maybe it's a dude who acts all macho but is insecure inside. Maybe you felt like you didn't have to work. Like some people feel slightly entitled. It's a more narcissistic type of mindset. They believe things should come to them. They should just reap everything and it's not the whole positive aspect of law of attraction. This is more an entitled, oh, everything should just come to me and people should just fawn all over me. I don't have to do any work. You could have been kind of self-pitying. Yeah, all this stuff is definitely what pulled you into this situation. And also could have been, maybe you were sick and you were looking for alternative methods of healing and you got duped. Or you're not duped. I feel like you probably were duped. Or it's not working very fast. Or you could have just retreated into fantasy and not tried to work on anything. Sometimes when we want something, we can convince ourselves of anything. So we can convince ourselves we're doing something out of devotion and love, and it's really out of self-interest. I'm not saying selfishness, because self-interest is good. You should I feel like this person, I feel like whatever you did, whoever you were, maybe this was another person. I feel like this is you. And you did something trying to take care of yourself, take care of the situation, trying to do the right thing, but you were working with the wrong thing. Whatever you were doing, you were working with the wrong thing. You had it wrong. So the wrong beliefs or the wrong actions or the wrong truth. Like, I am doing this because I desperately want to have this thing. But deep down underneath, which is why you couldn't manifest it, was I don't really want this thing. It's not what I want. Deep down, I'm too scared to have it. Deep down, I don't really want that. I want something else that I haven't told myself that I want. So following your feelings in this instance was unreliable. 6 of Cups reversed. You're dreaming about something completely unrealistic. So the second position, which is this reverse 6 of Cups, it's called the point of no return. It was the breaking point. You were looking to the past to fix the future. You were kind of living in both the past and the future simultaneously. I have to go and dwell on the past and look at the past and ruminate and dissect it, or wallow in some pretty fantasies and fond memories, or wallow in the pain. I'm feeling wallow in fantasy. Or you were like stuck on a childhood dream that you wanted to come true, that you were trying to make come true. So a lot of this was focus on the past and focus on the future. Too much focusing on everything that was not the present. The present is the only thing that matters. The present is the only moment that exists. We are always only in the present. In fact, it's quite possible that the past and the future don't exist at all. I was hearing something about protons the other day that made me think about it, like, seriously. So, sometimes this card reverse can be about new technology, or being ultra progressive. Too much passion put into trying to create something in the future. An ability to live in the present. Maybe you were trying to reconnect with someone from the past. Or bring something from the past into the future and try to recreate it. This can also be the Peter Pan syndrome. Refusing to grow up. What pushed you over the edge could have been that. Refusing to let go. Woundology. Very, very reminiscent of the King of Cups. He kind of exudes woundology. You know, focusing so much on the pain. I look at this, and I see all these cups upside down. So emotions kind of okay, so this would be nice if flowers weren't growing out of it. Usually cups don't have flowers growing out. But I look at this as you're grounded in your ethereal realms. So if your emotions aren't grounded in solid ground, so going back, embrace all aspects of yourself, the earthly and divine. Earthly is key word here. If you're not grounded in the earth, you're grounded in something. You have a foundation in something. Your belief structure stems from something. Maybe it's stemming from something that isn't real, fantasy, spirit. Maybe someone died. Someone could have died. It's pleasure reversed. Could be in sorrow. You're missing someone. You have some inner child work to do. If you believe any of that. You definitely need to find yourself a sacred space. I'm sensing really strongly this is talking about sacred space. Maybe your foundation is a good foundation. It's in some sacred place inside your mind. Don't forget that if you have like a mind palace or a fond place you retreat to in your head, or a belief system like God or heaven or whatever, or a vision of the future. I want to be this, and it's in your head all the time, and you know you're going to become that. Don't forget that can have a physical representation in this world. You can do it right now. I want to be a lawyer. I will go and do something and have physical representation of yourself as a lawyer. That's magic, by the way. And keep it in your house. So it's physical, rooted. You're not just rooting something only in the ether, in the astral planes, in your imagination where it's only fantasy and you're just wallowing. You're not actually putting action to do something. So the physical representation could be an action. Every week I do this and this and this to reach my goal. If it's trying to get over to grieve, you can make it smaller actions. Or the action could be to accept your grief. You know, let go of the obsessive need to make something happen. Yeah, so what was the point of no return? Sorry, I bumped the camera. The point of no return was definitely preoccupation with the past, leading to lethargy and inertia. Lack of inertia. Lack of initiative. I words are coming. You need to turn away from the past and focus on the future. Or, I know what happened. Possibly. Potentially. Probably. You were reactionary. Something happened in the present. Something you imagine will happen in the future. Those came into your mind and you reacted from a place in the past. Place you were in the past. So, but going back to the idea of kind of woundology, but more going back to the whole trauma. The idea of trauma controlling you. Also, going back to the inner child work, you need to work on your inner child. You need to explore your shadow self. What you're doing right now. something happened in the past, and it wounded you to the point where it's controlling you now. We could look at this. Maybe someone betrayed you. Maybe you trusted someone and it turned out to be poisonous. A poisonous offering. Or you can go to the mindset of the evil queen who made this apple. A lot of people just reduce her to, oh, she was really vain. Or the opposite of vain. Vain doesn't really feel like it's actually vain to me. Vain feels like it's a fear of not being enough, not being worthy enough. So maybe you felt like, maybe someone in the past made you feel like you weren't worthy enough. You weren't beautiful enough. Maybe you're a second wife type situation. The second choice in a job. Maybe you work in the beauty industry. Maybe you were having problems accepting your physical appearance. It's kind of like teeth, like a skull. That's cool. So death invoked because of the skull aspect. Apple invokes the images of apples are sometimes purported to be the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Which I don't find that's a bad thing. Knowledge of good and evil just means that you are aware of duality. But could be temptation, you were tempted. Did you cheat on someone? Or someone cheated on you? Maybe that was the betrayal. Anyway, that was the turning point. Whatever happened in the past is still in your present, and it's what's bringing you on this road to hell. Bringing you to where you are in this hellish situation you're in. You could be in a hellish situation, you could be in a hellish mindset, you could be in hellish emotions. Personally, I feel like if hell exists, it's in a state of mind. Because having been one who suffered depression, I doubt anything could be worse than the depth of emotional despair. But this card also tells you there could be promise of better times. Even reversed has some positive aspects. Okay, so third card in this position is called the Dark Culmination. Do you realize what you've become? You've become a person who jumps to conclusions. I'm going to tell you that right now. You always want to blame someone. You always want to find someone to blame. Sometimes you want to blame yourself, which leads you back into depression, but you're very much like this reverse negative cups, kind of suspicious, very suspicious, wallowing in your past, expect people to be the worst. Maybe you are the evil queen, and you poison situations. Maybe you're self-sabotaging. You poison a situation before it could be good. She wanted to be loved. She had a stepdaughter and a husband. I believe I don't know if in the original version she killed him, but in some versions she does. So she wanted to be loved, or she felt beauty was love. She felt power was love. Instead of actual love was love. Maybe she was afraid to be loved. So you could be all of that. You could kill situations. You could kill new love before it happens. You could destroy connection. You could definitely be self-sabotaging. Looking to blame others. Making other people the scapegoat, or making yourself the scapegoat. So, kind of a watery. I always feel like weakness can be watery. Weak, watery aspect of the King of Cups. So, is the King of Cups reversed? It's more like no backbone, spineless. It's like, I can't accept myself for the way I am, so I'm going to deny the way I am and pretend to be something else and blame everyone else for the things, for my own failings. And yeah. So, are you pleased or horrified with the outcome of this, with this woundology mindset, with this whole being the reverse king? Reverse king. Remember going back to the reverse king. Can be a little bit too into escapism. Maybe you play too many video games. Hide behind a caring facade. A rogue. Poor me. Unable to trust yourself emotionally. Expressing love gloriously. Like we said, remember the image of the husband, the overly passive husband. So passive aggressive. Are you happy being passive aggressive? Making yourself a scapegoat. Okay, so what happens when we the scapegoat? I hear this a lot because I do a lot of self-help stuff, right? And when a child is made the scapegoat by the family, it's usually a definite sign that there's something wrong with the family members. There's always a scapegoat. If you've done some research into, I've done and gotten out of the whole idea, but the whole narcissist thing. The narcissist just tends to make a scapegoat in a family and a childhood dynamic. So sometimes one of the children becomes a scapegoat, and they blame and the narcissist will blame and thus make the entire family, in order to please the narcissist, blames everyone on the scapegoat child. I don't necessarily completely buy into the whole narcissist spiel, but just for the sake of illustration, if you were the black sheep in the family as a child, if everyone blamed everything on you, that's called projection. It's not necessarily your fault. I mean, now it's in you. Now you take it on as yourself, and it continues to control who you are as an adult, which is your job to fix now. Okay? So it could be you're wallowing in the past, blaming your childhood for your current ways, blaming your abusive parents or your neglectful parents or whoever raised you or whatever, for being unable to stand up for yourself now, for being too passive, for being unworthy, or being ugly. Okay, so going back to the whole mythology of Snow White, she sought to kill Snow White and eat her heart. This looks like a heart to me. Poisoned heart, evil hearts. Lots of hearts. Look at that. That's a heart. Cups are hearts. Okay. Maybe you feel like you can't love. You don't know how to love if you're not lovable. You're not worthy of love. You're not loved. Okay, so going back to the concept. So she's killing this child, who is her child, even though it's not really her child because it's by it's a stepchild, right? But when you're trying to kill a child in any concept, and a fairy tale is definitely an archetype. You're trying to kill the child in you. So you could be blaming, this is very reminiscent of childhood, you could be blaming your childhood self for your present woes, or the present way you are, or maybe there's another heart. Maybe you hate your childhood self. Maybe you're blaming her still the way your family blamed her, him, her. And so the evil queen tried to kill Snow White, who was more beautiful. Children, when we have children, and I think if you marry into a family, you're taking on that family's energies and karma, if you believe in karma. I don't believe in karma, but for the sake of illustration, karma. And you're taking on the family's everything. So the child becomes her child energetically, in a way. And the child is literally a representation of everything the parents wanted to be and couldn't be. So everything that was rejected and wanted to be. So I want to be this, I didn't get to be this. I'm going to put it on the child so the child becomes this. Or I hate this part of myself, I'm going to put it onto the child. It's projection to the uber extreme. Also whole scapegoat nonsense. So everything she loved, she wanted to be, was put onto this child. This child was gorgeous, was the fairest of them all. And she wanted to kill it with an apple. Knowledge of good and evil, duality. Doesn't want to accept both sides of herself. Going back to both sides. Sorry, I'm seeing lots of connections in this one. Probably going longer than we should. Yeah, anyway, so dark culmination. This is, do you like who you've become? Do you like being the scapegoat? Do you like being the person who self-sabotages, who tries to kill yourself? The inner you, the child you were. Because while I also don't believe that the future and past don't exist, I also believe everything imagined exists at the same time. I can believe both. I'm really cool like that. So if I have a mindset of who I was as a child, and I remember her, she exists in the moment that I'm remembering her, and thus I am still her. She is still a part of me. She still exists. She is a real person. So you're trying to kill who you were because you can't accept who you were. You understand? So, are you pleased or horrified by this conclusion? And will this destroy you or strengthen you to be like this? To be this watery king? To be this wallowing, poor me person? To make everyone scapegoat the way you were made the scapegoat, perhaps? Or maybe you just do it anyway. Because you believe you aren't enough. That's it. We're done. I have to move on to the third reading. I'm really pleased you joined me in this reading. If you liked it, please comment. Do with that information what you will, and I hope to see you again. Pile 3, we're finally to you. This is probably the pile I would have chosen. Probably. I don't know. But I do like this charm. This is a journal from Death Note. This represents Light, who wrote in the journal. This could represent the Shinigami, who is the god of death. I definitely would have chosen this pile. Okay, so also it's a clock. Be aware this clock is broken, does not work. That could definitely end the hour, and this clock stuck at is 9, almost 9:30 p.m. or a.m. Anyway, be aware it's broken. All of that information can help direct energy in the reading. Okay, triple moon. Why is that not focusing? Embrace all aspects of yourself, the divine and the earthly. It's talking about duality and return from duality. That's my private opinion of the afterlife, if you're interested. I mean, I don't really think hell actually exists. I believe hell is now in this world, what we do, what we become, or could be after you die and you create it until you feel like you've done your penance. Potentially. It really depends on what you believe. But I believe that the end of everything is a return from duality. It's my personal beliefs. Anyway, so first position, 9 of Cups upright. This is called the way down. What pulled you onto this path? 9 of Cups. What pulled you onto this path? Overindulging. Maybe you spent too much money. Or overindulged in the finer things without a thought for the future. Put too much focus on success and status. Trying to gain attention. Maybe you were an attention seeker. Maybe you craved the high life, but you didn't want to do any hard work. Oh, you could be on this whole thing. I want a quick road to success. Like, I want to get quick, rich, quick scheme. I need a quick fix. Oh, but you know, it is in the upright. It's a very positive card. Let's look at this card. I like this deck because it's so negative. Okay, so one of those children were bad. He's about to go be eaten by this Krampus dude. I think one little girl is about to be beaten. She looks really, really evil. Look at that. Look at her. She looks like she is trying to appear innocent, but look at her face. She's got some evil looking face. And she's got a red dress on. She looks like she's trying to fake it. Fake being pious. So maybe you were putting on a facade for everyone to see. Maybe you were, or someone to see, or for yourself, lying to yourself potentially. I feel like you knew what you were doing. You know who you are. You know you're secretly evil. She looks evil. I'm sorry. She looks like she should definitely get in that bucket. Krampus, by the way, takes children away to be eaten when they're really, really, really bad. Usually he just comes and beats them. But if they're really bad and leaves something terrible in their shoe. But if they're really, really bad, he takes them away to be eaten. She doesn't really want to go be eaten, does she? I like her red dress. Very reminiscent of the whole heart thing. Oh my god. 9 of Cups, 9 of Hearts. Lots of cups in this reading. Yeah, so I think this is pretty straightforward. It's definitely about maybe controlling people. Like if this is a love situation or a situation with other people and emotions of love, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic love. You were trying to control people and make people love you. Again, back to the attention seeking thing or fame. It's possible you using sex as a weapon. Possible you were using sex to make someone love you, or to hold on to someone, or to control someone, or your sexual appeal. It could also be the whole vixen vibe, even if you're a dude, vixen vibe. So this is talking about how your wishes will not be what you actually want. So say you have some hopes and dreams and wishes right now. Sorry about my phone. Too far away to get to it. We're just going to have to endure. Everyone's curious, and if anyone can even hear the song, because nobody might be able to hear it, but if you can hear it, it's called Walk Like a Zombie by the Horror Pops. It's probably going to ruin this video. Alright, going back. Okay, you might get what you want, but it's not going to be good for you. So whatever you were seeking in this position, in this that led you onto this path that leads you to the road to hell, your hell, whatever the situation is, it could be you're going to get it, but it's not what you want. It could be like, oh, I want to be with this person. They're so amazing. I'm going to do everything I can to do it and be nefarious in some of my schemes. And when I get them, they're not. Or the situation is not what I want. Careful what you wish for type thinking. Overindulging. Ooh, you could be overeating. You could be drinking. You could be indulging in alcohol maybe. I don't really get the vibe of that type. Well, it could be. Like I said, this could be a fame-seeking thing. Attention-seeking, whole limelight thing. That's what probably led you onto this. Temptation. Okay, we're getting off that. Second card, position, point of no return. What was the breaking point? This was the breaking point. Two of Cups reversed. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Look at this. I feel like there was a lack of bravery. I feel like there was a lack of love. Maybe it was selfish love. Maybe it was no love. Maybe you were feigning love. You were trying to bring... maybe you're trying too hard for unconditional love, which is a more divine thing. Human beings aren't really capable of it. If you are trying to unconditionally love someone, inevitably you're going to not love yourself. Because you're going to accept so much from someone else, even them hurting you or even loving them through what they do. And it's also a rejection of loving yourself. It's really difficult to love unconditionally. And if you hear me talk about loving unconditionally later in future readings, and I'm being positive about it, be aware I'm a Gemini and my mind shapes about lots of things. Anyway, so in this instance, I don't know. I feel like the point of no return for you is believing in false promises or lying to yourself and saying they were there and making the promises to yourself when they weren't spoken by the other party or the situation or it wasn't on paper or whatever. It could have been a disillusionment. You realized what happened or what wasn't going to happen and it broke your heart. Lies. Why is this blurry? Has it been blurry the whole time? Looks blurry to me. Let's look at that up close so it's not blurry. You see, you have something to look at. Maybe you were lying about your emotions. Maybe you were lying about duality. Maybe you're not accepting duality or letting something be equal. Or maybe something just kept kind of falling out. Like, the cups are upside down. When I see cups upside down, I just imagine water falling out. And if water in tarot is often linked to emotion, maybe you were losing whatever you gained. The moment you had it, it just drained away. So it could have been like a whole energy vampire situation. They were just draining energy from you. The situation was, someone was. Or you were from them. Don't forget, you can be the bad guy too. And she's definitely kind of evil, by the way. This could have been another person. Not necessarily saying this was you. This could have been another person in a situation. Be aware of that. Everything is you, everything's not you. Lions and wings remind me of Hermes. I don't know why. Remind me of Gemini. Why does Gemini keep coming up so much in this reading? I'm a Gemini, by the way. So, maybe that's why. Also, duality, twin aspects, mirror reflection, point of no return. Wishful thinking. Maybe trying to scheme too hard to get what you want. Lying to yourself. Very straightforward. Definitely feel like the lying to oneself strongly. Okay, we're moving on. Third card, position 3, the dark culmination. Do you realize what you become? What have you become? Let's look at it. Fur. Pretty dear. Can you read that? You can pause it if you need to. Okay, awesome. Very, 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 very similar to the other cards. This dude, it happens a lot in this deck with the demons. They will lie to you unless they're confined in a circle, and then they'll tell you the truth. I don't know about that, okay? I don't know about that. I don't really like the idea of confining demons. It seems so rude. Demons are old gods. You need to be more respectful. But it does represent lies and truth. Okay. What have you become? You become someone who does lie and also tell the truth. Or you will only tell the truth when you're cornered. Or you only encounter people who do that. It's highly possible that you only encounter people who do that. So I'm sensing two different possibilities. Like, this could be you, the little evil little girl, all right, who dumps all the cups out, or this could be another person. So it could be you who only lies and tells the truth. I'm sensing it's another person that you continue to encounter, which means it's still your fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying it's your fault, okay? Right? Because we attract what we are, we attract what we expect to see. So this could be the whole concept of, this is an illustration, it's not how I feel, of, all men are terrible misogynists or whatever. And then because you expect all terrible men to be misogynists, because that's your belief, that's all you attract. It's dumb. Don't do that. You can do the same thing with women. All women are gold diggers, okay? It's dumb. Don't do that. You cannot lump an entire group into such a trite generalization. But that could be what you're doing. and thus attracting to yourself only people who only tell the truth when they're cornered. You need to focus on what you actually desire. Right now, you don't. I'm reading this reverse because I feel like reading it reverse today. Typically, upright, he does focus on. I feel like he's a really awesome dude, by the way. I really feel like he's cool. He's got wings and horns. That's cool. And he's a deer. Deer are beautiful creatures. And in a spiritual aspect, they have so much spiritual peace and connection to them. And I adore deer, and he's like a demon deer. He's so fucking cool. But reversed, I feel like you're not being him. Are you pleased or horrified with this illustration of yourself? I want you to be aware. This is your pendant. You are invoking this. So, either you encounter this person or you became this person who had the best of intentions, sort of, in the beginning. He was a straight A student. He had a happy home and happy family. Then he finds this power. You can't see it, can you? He finds this power to kill people. This is an anime, by the way. Given to him by the Shinigami, the god of death. A god of death. A Shinigami. A notebook. If he writes the name in the notebook, they die. And the story was one of the best fucking things I've ever seen. And yes, I've watched it more than once. He continues to go on this path more and more and more, where he just descends into this morass of evil caricature and evil character. And it comes less about the good intentions of getting rid of all the evil, because he's basically killing evil people. He decides, I'm going to go kill evil people. That's the road to hell. Okay? I'm going to go kill all the evil people. It's okay because they're bad. But then he just starts killing everyone. Anyone who gets in his way. I don't know. I expected this reading to be a bit darker than it is. Unfortunately, it's not. I'm not saying unfortunately. Maybe I am. But just, it's like, I feel like this reading is really, really light. Like, you're a good person. Light. Light. Isn't that amazing? His name is Light, the dude who does this, the main character. I've said this before. I don't know if it's been in the video I posted, but I've said this before. The gods resemble humans for a reason. And they did a lot of interesting things, especially like the Greek gods. They were very incestuous and kind of irrational emotionally, and they killed people. So gods tend to resemble humans in both the shining ideation of goodness and also really human flaws. In the human flawed aspect. And they did this for a reason. The gods are archetypes. But they do this for a reason, which is also why cards have upright and reverse when I read them this. And I've noticed that even in reverse, there are both negative and positive aspects. That's duality for you. Okay? You have to accept both the dark and the light. So his name is Light. But he becomes very dark, so no one is good and evil, everyone has both in them, and you accept both as yourself. Is it actually evil? Is it actually good? Do they actually exist? Truth and lies. Reminds me of the whole father of truth and lies, Lucifer thing. He has this negative, wide reputation as evil, but if you do the research, dude's Venus. Dude's the morning star. Dude is an archetype towards self-enlightenment. Dual aspects. Also, perspective, projection. So, as light as this reading seems, it's also has this really nice, sharp, dark taste to it. Taste in my mouth. I don't know about yours. But I feel like divine and earthly. Duality, yin yang. I like this reading. I like you, whoever you are, or the situation, perhaps. It feels interesting. It feels kind of like spicy. Like you just ate some spicy food. Will this destroy you or give you strength? I feel like this is going to give you strength. Okay? Maybe you need to accept this dark aspect of yourself. Maybe you need to go and be selfish. Maybe you need to reject some offerings. Or maybe you're going to do that anyway, or maybe you already did that. And now it's time to be by yourself and fly free. That's just what I'm getting. I'm getting some information that's not really in the cards, but it's like endurance and pleasure together. Is there a word for that? It feels like a taste in my mouth. It doesn't actually feel like anything. I don't feel like this reading is over. I feel very strongly that you are, or you need to, or you will go into this kind of spicy negativity. It's not really negativity though. It's just like, it's like dark satisfaction. It's like a darker aspect. It's like a scheming aspect. It's not, the word is escaping me. It means those things. It's looking left. Maybe you need to walk the left-hand path for a while. Maybe that's what it is. That's what it is. You need to walk the left-hand path for a while. Interesting. Alright. If you enjoyed this reading, I'm really happy you joined me. Please comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And do with this information what you will. This was your road to hell. And it doesn't seem that bad. It seems like it's going to be bad, but it's going to be good for you. Enjoy.